as a result of being part of these communities for the years that we've been part of the communities, we've built an incredible network of incredible people who do some incredible work. Hey, what's this whole wealth journey podcast thing all about?
It's a podcast for entrepreneurs where we're trying to help them connect the meaning with their money.
Who are you?
Jim Gebhardt.
Oh, I'm Matthew Grishman, and we're a couple of financial guys having a not so traditional financial conversation called The Whole Wealth Journey. Here we go.
What is on the gratitude list today?
My gratitude comes in a very unexpected form today. I'm going to share some gratitude that I had for my son this morning, for Miles, the oldest of the Grishman boys. I'm grateful for him because it's one of those when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and I had no idea that I was ready for the kind of teaching he was going to throw at me this morning. We had a lovely little start to the day where he and I both had a few hours, so we decided to go out and try to play 9 holes of golf. So part of my gratitude is that my shoulder, which has not let me swing a golf club in 8 months, cooperated enough today that I could go out there and swing it without any pain, without any discomfort. So that really was a big win today. I didn't hit the ball for shit, but I swung a golf club without being in pain and got to have 2 hours with my boy, which is a real treat since moving out of the house. So there's some gratitude for that, but there's also a lot of gratitude in what he taught me today and what he exposed to me today. I've really been working hard for a lot of years on this idea of vulnerability and being vulnerable and being real. Because when I put myself out there and I'm vulnerable to the world, it seems to help people. It allows people to relax and get vulnerable back with me and share their truth and unpack some stuff that maybe they've been holding on to for a while. And something Miles shared with me today helped me get a little more aware of a blind spot there where I am not always so vulnerable. And that's at home with Amy and with the boys. That sometimes
I thought it was going to be on the golf course with your handicap.
Well, I'm very vulnerable on a golf course with my handicap, as you are always well aware when you're my golf partner. But today he was brave enough to share a truth that he's observed, that the last few times that we've been together, he's felt that I've been wearing a mask and that I've been hiding how I truly feel and putting on a little bit of a game face. And he was just curious how I'm doing and what's going on and encouraging me to be more vulnerable with my family, with the people who love me most. And this was something I'm completely unaware of until he said it. And then it was like, yeah, you're right. This just willingness to let my son be my teacher today and the gratitude that I have for the teacher showing up today in the form of my oldest son and being vulnerable. It's an incredible teacher to show up for me today in the form of my son. Just
awesome.
I'm grateful for it. Yeah. So a little different gratitude. How about you? What's on the gratitude list for you today?
It's also a bit of a weird one in the context that this summer our home is a little bit more of a recovery and rehabilitation center. And all 4 kids have, as Billy Crystal said in that beautiful scene in the classroom, I forget the movie, you'll remember it. You know, in your 60s, you have a procedure. It was a minor surgery, but you're going to call it a procedure. I forget what scene that is. It makes me howl. All the kids have some kind of a procedure this summer. We just kicked it off with Grace's ankle and Achilles. Emily's got some stuff with her toes, wisdom teeth. Grant's got a deviated septum that we're going to get fixed. And what I'm grateful for with all of that is that we're going to meet our out-of-pocket max deductible for our healthcare plan. No, that's not it.
Boy.
It's the fact that everybody's stepping up.
In what way?
It's beautiful to watch. I mean, you would expect mom and dad to step up.
Sure.
Right?
That's your job.
But to see the rest of the kids, Emily, Jack, Grant, it's more than pitch in, right? Like her brothers are running up to UC Davis today to move out the rest of her stuff because she's graduated and the lease is coming due at the end of this month.
Oh, great. Grace's.
She still had some stuff left in her apartment, and Emily's juggling all different kinds of things with school, but, our sprinkler system isn't working since we remodeled. So she's hand watering while mom and dad are working. And there's lots of little things around the house that mom and dad are always doing that are starting to get done by other people that I'm incredibly grateful for. And I need to express that gratitude, as does Beth, but I don't always, let's put it this way. Maybe I should have an expectation that they would just automatically step up and help like that. But that has not been my expectation. And it's been very wonderful to see them do it without saying anything. There hasn't been some come to Jesus kind of conversation around the fact that, hey, look, gang, we all need some help this summer and everybody's going to have their turn in the barrel. So let's go.
Okay. So I got to tell you, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And I'm thrilled to hear that all four of your brood are stepping up and doing their part. I mean, you are kind of six adults cohabitating together, and it's not as much mom and dad taking care of four little ones anymore. But there's something here that I'm seeing that I don't know if you're seeing. Part of why they're stepping up is because Mr. and Mrs. Gebhardt, the most entrepreneurial, extraordinaire parents I know, are allowing the children to step up. For so many years, I watched this in your family
and everything. With the tariffs, we had to let all the staff go.
Of course.
So we don't, the wonderful, exquisite, caring staff that we've had around the house for all these years, they're no longer. No, yeah, ha. I don't want ICE showing up on my door. So
they might. You guys have done a brilliant job in allowing this to happen. Much like Amy and I have been for years as well. You and Beth have just always done things. You're, as entrepreneurs, you're in charge. You control everything.
We're human doings. Come on, get it right.
Yeah, you are human doings.
We're not human beings. We're human doings.
Correct. And I'm watching the two of you realize that you can't do everything anymore, and that for the two of you to do the things in life you really want to do that really bring you great joy and that allow you to have the most amount of impact in the world requires you to involve other people in the operation of your lives, not just here at Gebhardt Group, but at home as well. So bravo to you and Beth for stepping back and allowing them to step into that place. That's awesome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you and I are nothing else, we're a couple of perpetual students.
Yes.
A book I read, I don't know how many years ago now, 2, 3, 4 years ago, by Arthur Brooks, Strength to Strength. And we threatened to do a book review on the show, and maybe in 2028 we'll get to that. But the nature of the book, very simply put, is, and I'm going to use one of my favorite golf analogies, is how you played the front nine is not how you can play the back nine. That's one of the big challenges, and you don't need to be an entrepreneur to breathe this in. But, when you're a young parent, a young employee, a young entrepreneur, and you're getting started and you got tons of energy and you can just go, that's fine.
That worked for you and me for a long time.
Long time. Well, it worked for Beth for a long time. But after you read this book, it's one of those things you can't unsee. You've now been exposed to this concept that whatever tools and tricks and strategies you use to play the front nine of life, let's call the back nine of life over the age of 50, you'd best play it differently. Because if you continue to try to play it the same way with go, and you don't rest and repair the machinery, a la the mind, the body, the spirit. So we're getting better. We're a couple of, as my dad would have said, stubborn Dutchmen, but we're getting there.
Well, this ties beautifully into the whole point of what we're here to talk about today. You and Beth have realized that you don't need to figure out how to do everything around your home anymore to make it work. You've realized that the answer to how do we make this all work is who.
It's another three-lettered word.
Who, right? Who is going to help us figure out how to make this all work? And that's where the children have stepped up as these who's that are accomplishing important things around the house. Something that we've learned here at Gebhardt Group running our business is that you and I, every time we come across another opportunity or another challenge, right? We're dealing with some major technology challenges this summer where everything from our trading.
Are they technology opportunities?
Well, that's the beautiful lead-in, right? It's we're going through a time where literally every piece of technology, from our trading platform to our billing and reporting platform, are all being shut down and goodbye, squash. So we're being kind of forced to upgrade and look at other solutions, which, like you said, is creating opportunities for us. And fortunately, you and I are not spending all of our time trying to figure out how to do this. We're learning that there are who's that can help us get this done, which is making it so much less stressful than it could be.
See if you agree with me on this one. Whether it's an opportunity, a challenge, a struggle, and you come to the natural fork in the road with the how are we going to blah, 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 blah.
Right. How are we going to fix it?
How are we going to make it work? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to afford it? How? To me, it's one of those impediment. Like I hit a wall as soon as someone says, well, how are we going to, you just pump the brakes, right? You don't know what to do because it just is a roadblock.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I, thanks to a book that we're going to talk about in a second, and a wonderful author, and someone I hope we have on the show one day, we've been able to pivot from that. And as soon as that how question comes up, we don't really obsess about it anymore. We go straight to the we need a who.
Right. Right. We need somebody. Would you agree or disagree that every entrepreneur we meet who's stuck is stuck because of the word how?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's where, well, hello, let's just go back to our analogy with some of the software that is going away. And oh, by the way, these were not organizations that were fly by night in any regard. These were premier organizations, businesses in the financial services industry that are doing away with one big trading platform and one big billing and performance reporting software that we never thought we could outgrow, let alone they would go away.
Right.
Like they would disappear.
Right.
We immediately were like, well, how are we going to?
Uh-huh.
And then we slowed it down and realized, no. There's a who here, right? There are people that this is what they do. They help solve this particular problem. No different than the magical, unbelievably memorable trip we did this past Christmas to London and Paris. A trip like that to plan for the six of us would be so overwhelming. And Beth and I got there. We were like, oh God, how are we going to plan that?
Right. And
then we found this who, Emily Kenny, and all that she does for travel folks. And we've got clients that are working with her now. And I don't know if she's a listener to the show or not, but we'll give her a shout out today. You have to just kind of change your thinking instead of getting stuck on the how to flip it to who can help me with this.
Right. Well, and come on, let's be very clear here. You are capable of planning that trip. You're capable.
100%.
Right. You're a world-class traveler. You and I have been around the globe plenty of times, and we know how to do the ins and outs of the airports
100.
and the car rentals and the hotels and the Airbnbs.
And I can change my own oil too.
Well, that makes you even that much more incredible of a world-class traveler. Thankfully, we have somebody on our team who is outstanding at that work. Why is it that it doesn't make sense for you to book that trip and put all the moving parts together? Why is it important that we find a who instead of how?
Well,
come on.
To you and me, it's blaringly obvious.
Yeah.
It's not highest and best use of our time, nor is it our unique ability.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Our superpowers are not best spent on doing that. And as I think all of our entrepreneurial clients that are listening, I think it's fair to say if we're going to be vulnerable with them, or if they're going to be vulnerable with us, they're control freaks.
Aren't we all?
They're total control freaks.
Right.
They want to control everything, from their schedule to their people to their money to their all of that. Right. That's part of the reason that gives them such drive
Can we change
have
one
their own
word?
business? Sure.
Just one word from them to us. Because we're them.
We
right?
are them. Are we talking pronouns now, or what are we doing?
Well, it's not just the entrepreneurs that are hanging out with us today. It's us too. That we're control freaks. We've been control freaks for so many years, and thankfully we're seeing the benefit of who, not how, and allowing some of that control to go away so that you and I can show up using our superpowers and our unique abilities and letting that be how we spend more of our time.
Let's also just put out there for the tribe. The book is literally called Who, Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. It's a wonderful read. It's an easy read. Please buy it today. I mean, we'll have links in the show notes on it. It's not like we're getting any bucks out of it. We just think it's a really, really powerful story to help you start to unlock that controlism, right? To help you unlock freeing you up, right? Because what does the world need? The world needs you spending as much time as you can in your superpowers. In our case, in your example of your travel, booking your travel, yeah, of course you're capable of doing it, but that's not highest and best use. And that's what we want to talk a lot more about today.
The reason this is so important is, and you and I, we've been talking about this as a recurring theme. It's a recurring theme within our business. We're trying to live by example here for the tribe. As we talk about these things, these are really things that you and I are experiencing in real time. Because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you and I have realized when we sit there looking at the balance sheets that 80% or more, in my case, more, of our net worth is tied up in this thing called our business, called Gebhardt Group. And I think that's a common thing with all of our business owners, all of our entrepreneurs who are part of the tribe here, is that 80% of that net worth is tied up in the business. And one day we have to be able to unlock that wealth to be able to support what might be next when we transition and exit from the current business that we own today. And one of the things that's going to make that possible is who, not how.
How am I going to do that? How am I going to unlock that wealth?
It's not.
How am I going to sell this thing? How am I going to let go?
Right.
Oh my God, you just told me 80% of my net worth is tied up in my business, and you think I'm going to let go of the control stick and let who's help me?
Right. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to if you're okay selling your business for what a fraction of its potential is. But if you want to maximize the value of what you've built and created, there
maybe even lessen the stress and the burden on yourself by having, a team, maybe a little more free time.
Yeah.
Maybe how about a vacation?
I mean, brother, this is the identity crisis that every entrepreneur faces when eventually they transition out of the ownership seat, right? We have spent collectively decades being the person everyone comes to for answers. We're financial advisors, for crying out loud, right? And all of a sudden now we put our business owner hat on, our entrepreneur hat on, and now we need to ask the question of who do we turn to help us prepare one day for the big exit, right? It's like this idea of, I mean, I know for me, I've got a lot of fear around this idea of going from a who's who to who's he, right? So a lot of times there's fear in what might be next as a business owner for me. So the idea of inviting other who's in, that's scary. There's fear.
That's totally scary. We have a new financial planning client right now. They've been asset management clients for a number of years, which is a little bit, putting the cart before the horse. But in some conversations with he and his wife, he has no hobbies.
Ooh.
His hobby has been his work and his career. He happens to be, he's entrepreneurial in terms of the nature of his work, but he works for a very large corporation as a partner. He doesn't have any hobbies. An occasional bike ride, and not like more like a timed competitive bike ride, not a Tour de France or something like this. But other than that, it's like, well, Tom, what are we going to do with the other 60 hours of the week?
Sure. Let's face it, most driven entrepreneurs whether they're in business, whether they're professional athletes, people who have made a conscious or subconscious decision that they want to be the very best at something and they're motivated and driven to what they do. Most of those people we meet don't have hobbies because everything they're all about is what they do. And if there's room and time for other things, it's generally their family and the people that they're closest to. But what they do and how they generate fulfillment and fun in life is the vocation. So this is where who's become incredibly important because, I mean, I think of my dad. I think of Hank, who at 80 years old is retiring from 47 years as a school superintendent, who, and again, has very few hobbies. But what he's realizing, and we've had a lot of conversation, is that he's been open to the idea of having some who's help him figure out that what is that unique ability that's been driving him all these years, that when Hank walks in the room, this is what he does and what's so special about him being there, right? It's like he's a fish in water who can't see it. And how can I apply that to other areas of my life? How can I show up and potentially give that superpower away in other forms? And until you become aware of that, what that is, until you go through the planning work and find that who that can help you discover that part of who you are, that's what starts to unlock what might be next, even if you're somebody who doesn't have any hobbies, which, let's face it, most entrepreneurs don't.
I'm particularly proud of your dad for that because, first of all, he's 80.
Right.
So one of your famous talks on, old dogs can learn new tricks. I'm proud of him for the fact that, first of all, it's an awareness and an acceptance around the fact that I'm going to need some help here. Right. Whatever analogy you want. You're over your skis, you're in the deep end of the pool, blah, blah, blah. That acceptance to recognize that you're at a point in your life, whether you're 50, 60, 70, or 80, right? We have clients that sell businesses in their 50s.
Sure.
And they're done economically, right? Financially, but they've got energy to do more.
Yes.
And that to me is that is a powerful moment when the entrepreneur like your dad goes, boy, I think I'm going to need some help with this. Mm-hmm. And not get too obsessed with how am I going to do this? I mean, my dad started to think about the concept of retiring when he was in his mid 60s. He'd only started his business when he was 56, although He'd been at the career of for a very, very long time. He didn't like the concept of retirement for this very reason. He didn't know what he was going to do.
He was stuck on how.
He was completely stuck on how.
Yeah.
He knew he couldn't play golf 4 or 5 days a week. Okay, they're going to take a trip here and there. They had their place in the desert. He didn't have a ton of hobbies on that. And I wish I'd been much more aware as I am today of this concept of who, because I'm sure at the time there were plenty of who's out there 30 years ago to start to help him with this kind of stuff. And that's why I'm excited for us to have a show dedicated to this, because this is a timeless topic that whether if someone's listening to it in 2025 or 2035, the concepts are going to be the same.
Yeah. Really what we're going to finish up today with is trying to help our tribe just through our own experience, right? I mean, these are experiences that you and I have had directly in our lives, in our business, figuring out who the who's are that we need to surround ourselves with to be able to put our business in its best possible position to exit one day, which also happens to be the best possible position to continue to grow the business over the next decade or two that you and I want to be part of the business. So, when we talk about this idea of preparation for exit planning, we're also talking about preparation to continue growing the business in its most healthful and impactful way so that it can do what it's meant to do. And where this really starts and where I'm proud of my dad, and I don't know that he's even fully aware that he did this, is the first who you've got to come up with is this person to play kind of a role like a quarterback, somebody who could almost be like a project manager to help you corral all of the who's that you need. And I don't know that Hank was aware that he was letting me play that role a little bit. But as I'm watching him invite other who's into his life, they're who's that he's inviting because we've had conversation where I've asked him questions that have exposed the answer to his question is that particular who. not how, but finding a particular who, helping him see what his unique ability is, which is also what's allowing the different who's in his life to show up. And so the conversations that he and I have been having are really kind of threefold in a sense of, hey, these are three areas that, for the last couple of years before retirement, right? He officially retired here just last month, but there were years of conversation and preparation leading up to this retirement where we needed to look at these three very distinct areas of his life, because even though he's been a school superintendent working for technically the taxpayer and other people, he's always been an entrepreneur in his mind. He's always treated his district as if it were a business that he were running. And he was. I mean, he was running an incredible business. And his plan was to create a business after being a school superintendent called Grishman and Associates, where he would go on and do some consulting work. So the conversation was about kind of these three different legs of an equally important stool, or three equally important legs of a stool, where it was like, hey, Dad, before we can pull the parachute and quote unquote retire and figure out what's next, we need to make sure that we've got who's in our life that can support us with, getting that business ready, or in the case, if you're a business owner who owns a business, making sure that the business is ready for your exit one day.
Yeah, you optimize and maximize the business that you have today to put it in the best possible place, right? In the context of the work that we do, it's that business readiness. How ready is the business to transition, whether it's an internal transition, a strategic buyer, a private equity, whatever it is. Just putting yourself in that old Boy Scout motto of, be prepared.
Right.
So that if life throws you a curveball, you're prepared. But if you're coming at it from a position of strength and you're building a bigger and better team and a bigger and better business that's more profitable and more impactful in your industry, and you're having more fun with it, well, you don't have to sell it.
Right. Exactly.
But you're ready to, if the right opportunity comes around.
Yep. Well, there are people that we need to talk about that you and I have met in our world that I think we need to share with the tribe today about that business readiness and your business attractiveness, right? Not only are you ready and is your business ready, but how attractive is your business potentially to a third-party outside buyer or internal buyers? So there's that whole taking care of the business part. But there are two other legs of the stool that we have a client right now who is so hyper-focused on the business side and getting the business ready that he's not putting as much time and effort into the other two legs of the stool, which are equally as important, which is his own personal financial planning and his own personal planning, right? Is your own personal financial and legal house in order? Who are the who's that we need to get involved to help you get that done? And then, like you said, partner, a few minutes ago, what are you going to do with the 60 or 70 hours a week that you've dedicated to building and creating this business and your craft? So there has to be an equal amount of time put into personal planning. And how are you going to allocate your time, your energy, your superpowers?
When I think of this concept of a dream team of professionals across these three areas, right? The business, the personal financial planning, and the personal planning.
Yeah.
To help you prepare for this transition into Life 3.0. And sure, it's self-serving that Gebhardt Group is a wealth management financial planning firm, but I think that's where it has to start.
Yes.
I think it has to start with the personal planning so that you have any concept of what do you need? What does the business need to be worth, right? We had a meeting this week with a client that's in the process of doing an ESOP. And that's a unique exit strategy. It's a very tax efficient, wonderfully tax efficient strategy. And they have had to go through a process personally to look at the expenses that the business has been picking up all these years, 30 plus years, that are now going to be on their personal P&L. Mm-hmm. And as the wife said to us, she was blown away at how much money they actually spend, which translates to how much money they actually need from the sale of the business.
Right. Right.
And that's why we feel as though it has to start that most important who to start with is your financial planning team, because that's where you need the personal clarity. So you're talking about our client that is really focused on the business and not as focused on the personal side.
Right.
We're going to pull them into our lane here. And I get it. My father was exactly like this. He's like, well, we don't have any personal financial planning if the business doesn't succeed.
Right.
Right. I mean, he didn't sound like Walter Cronkite or that terrible impression I just did, but that was supposed to be a cranky old man saying, business comes first, everything else comes after.
Sure.
And I think that is a very old fashioned approach, because you and I have seen it from all directions, right? We don't often see it from somebody who wants to start with the personal planning, but it does start to free them up when they can start to see what their personal financial plan is going to look like. And okay, well, maybe the business isn't exactly in an optimal state to be able to sell it today, which frees them up to start to have time and space to think about how do they want to have impact in that personal planning category when all of this culminates, right? When there's a big, beautiful bow wrapped around it and the keys are hand off and the wires received. And here we go, Donna, into the wild sunset of life 3.0.
Yep.
Oh, it's just, I could do this forever.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, the challenge, right? I mean, yes, you and I could do this forever, and we probably will continue to do this forever. At some point, we're going to want to take some risk off the table, because you and I love the craft. We love what we do. But there's this second part of what we do that's also about running a business and owning a business that's a completely separate craft, right? And that's the part that there are going to be some who's that we're going to bring in to run that for us one day. And they're probably going to give us a whole bunch of money to do that, right? When we sell the business and want to get out of that seat, but want to keep doing what it is that we love to do. The challenge that we seem to keep coming across with our entrepreneurs is that many of them, they don't have a financial advisor because they haven't felt, like your dad's example, the need to have one yet at this point in their life, or they're working with a financial advisor who's not really a planner. There's someone who's convenient. They were my college roommate. They were my neighbor. Or the bank that I do my cash management with has been playing the role of wealth manager and financial planner, when the reality is that's not the center of the bullseye of the work that they do. But it's been a relationship of convenience, right?
My favorite example on that is a new client that we're working with. When they first came to see us, said, hey, we love our stockbroker.
Right.
we just need you to help us with the financial planning so that we know that we're okay.
Right.
And it's one of those where I've got to bite the inside of my lip, because it's like, well, then why aren't they doing that work for you?
Because they're a stockbroker.
No, I'm well aware, Sonny.
Okay, I just needed to be Captain Obvious for a second there, because just the word stockbroker gives me a chuckle.
It is a recognition of, you and I know the mind of the entrepreneur because we are them. They're already thinking of people on the team that they're missing.
Yeah.
Or people on the team that they need to upgrade.
Yeah.
Or just they're doing they're in their head going through their little, wait for it, Rolodex of people that they're working with that are either cutting the mustard or they're not.
Yeah.
And I would submit to the jury that you better have a damn good wealth management team that has expertise and experience in helping with this kind of transition, not your college roommate or your brother-in-law, unless that's what they happen to specialize in.
Sure.
Because look, face it, you deserve it. You deserve that level of expertise and planning because you've built something of value. You want the best team you can afford to help you quarterback this whole transition.
And that's the key right there, brother, is our experience has told us that the wealth manager tends to be the quarterback of the entire team because they kind of have to be. And just the way you and I have built our business, being enmeshed in our communities, getting to know people in our communities because of where we hang out and where our kids hang out, and people get to know what we do and how we do it. And when they need us, our phone rings. And as a result of being part of these communities for the years that we've been part of the communities, we've built an incredible network of incredible people who do some incredible work. So when we look at just building the personal financial planning team, it's not just the wealth management team. There's an estate planner. There's potentially a strategic CPA that needs to be brought in. There's a personal lines insurance agent that probably needs to be brought in. There might be some niche planning work like special needs planning and things of that nature that we have access to, potentially real estate, mortgage people. I mean, all sorts of people that can be brought in to tighten up that personal financial plan. And, last but not least, as you reach that age of 65 and you get that big fat workbook in the mail called Medicare, and
come on, that it's free. It's simple to execute, and it covers everything.
Right. Of course. Yet that's why Gebhardt Group has invested in an entire division dedicated and led by yours truly, Beth Gebhardt, 100% on Medicare advice. And that's all she does in her department within our firm. That's all they do because it's so simple, right?
Oh, it's so simple. Yeah.
So, we're good at the sarcasm thing too. We don't need who's for our sarcasm. We figured that how out pretty good. But when it comes to beginning to build the team, building that personal financial team, once that money piece is handled, that's what's going to give the business owner that peace of mind to be able to look at the business side. And then we start to build out the business team, right? Who's the team that we need? I mean, if the reality is your business is likely 80% of your net worth, question number one is, and I'm going to ask this point blank, and this is not for you to answer other than to yourself today. When's the last time you had your business valued? Have you ever had your business valued? Right?
I know I'm supposed to remember the statistic on this in terms of what percentage of business owners have had evaluation.
You can make one up because nobody's going to fact check us anyway.
Well, 87% of all statistics are made up anyway. So
of course,
it is a small ass number
of the number who have.
Of the number of business owners that have had a professional valuation. Now, as you go through that planning with the wealth management folks, and we'd certainly nominate ourselves to be on that list, you're going to want someone to be able to provide you a who or two specifically on that.
Yes.
And we've got a few folks on our team, not internally, obviously. These are an extension of what we do and who we work with, that's their expertise. I've got one buddy who his niche in the business valuation is actually in the valuation of difficult assets to value. So I'm having coffee with him one day and I'm like okay,
baseball cards and
okay, give me hit me with a curveball of an asset that's hard to value. He said, I can show you the contract where I was asked to value the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, well, why would you need that?
Yeah,
you would need that for insurance purposes.
Who's buying the insurance?
State of California.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, point to the story is there are plenty of who's out there. You may think you have some unbelievably niche kind of business. I assure you there are who's out there that can help with the valuation of that business.
Absolutely. And we know who some of them are. That same client that I just told you is very much head down working on business valuation stuff right now and not as excited or eager to get his own personal financial house in order or even begin to have the conversation of what life after the business is going to look like. We sent him a couple of business valuation specialists. And in fact, after we get out of the studio today, you and I need to talk about, he just got his first valuation back and it was a number he was not expecting. So he would like to have a little consultation with you and me as far as who are the next set of who's that he needs to bring in to kind of deal with this.
If I can read your body language there, it was not the number he was expecting in a bad way.
It was not a number he was in a bad way because of the first layer of transaction. Because it's one partner buying out another partner before he sells it to somebody outside down the road when he's ready to exit. So we really don't want the business to be valued at a ridiculous value. And he came back and got a ridiculous value. Ridiculous high.
Oh.
Which normally is a good thing, right?
Normally it's a good thing unless you're trying to buy out the majority interest.
That's kind of what's going on here right now.
That puzzle piece in this whole kind of quarterback analogy, it starts to then give you a data point. Not probably 9 out of 10 times, it's the opposite of that, right? The baby, the baby's ugly, right?
It's not worth as much as you thought it was.
Not worth as much as you thought, and that's okay. But all progress begins by having data, right? Having information. So now you can kind of go back to the wealth management team and see how net, right? Net of all fees, expenses, taxes, all that good stuff. And there's lots of planning there, lots of great advanced tax planning strategies, estate tax planning strategies, all that good stuff that we have who's for, that will give you a number that you can then work with your planning team, your financial planning team, to see if that's going to work.
Right.
And as you and I have said 500 times in our conference room, financial planning is a series of pulleys and levers. And it is a matter of making adjustments so that you can start to have the clarity that you're looking for, which ultimately is going to breed confidence in your financial future. So, okay, the number isn't what you want it to be. Well, great. What do I got to do to make it better? What do I got to do to make that number what is going to work in the plan? Because then with your planning team, you can reverse solve a bit and go, okay, well, look, we need $500,000 to live the lifestyle we want to live on. When I actually stop bearing expenses in the business and I pull them out, and I got to be able to spend $500,000 a year, whatever the number is. And right now you've got this wealth gap that says you still need another $9.2 million in the business to be able to cover that gap. Or again, we're making numbers up on the fly here.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is that this is all awesome work, because you are going to, like you started the show, you're going to make the business better, whether you sell it or not.
Right. This is an important point too, that we also talked about how where most business owners and entrepreneurs get stuck is they get stuck with how. Wait, so my wealth gap is $10 million. You're telling me that for me to live the retirement I want to live, I got to get my business to be worth 10 million more than it is today, or 50 million more than it is today?
I'm tired.
How am I going? How?
Because I'm tired.
And
I can't do it all myself, right?
Right. You get stuck.
That's that is stuck in the rut for sure.
Yes. Here's the good news. It's just a math formula. It's purely just a math formula. And there are value creation consultants, part of the who's that we have on our team, external who's, not members of Gebhardt Group, but external who's, in fact, who's that we have directly worked with for our own business and value creation, right? We have value creation consultants that we're working with that are helping us improve the value and increase the value of Gebhardt Group. And it's not you and me figuring out how we do it. It's somebody else. It's a who figures out exactly what we need to do, because for you and me to sit here and look at what we need to sell our firm for one day to live the kind of life that you and I want to be able to live and to have the kind of financial independence, it's a big number. And to try to digest that, all of what needs to be done to do that is overwhelming. So once again, how do we eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So that's what's incredible about these value creation consultants, is that they help us see the path to how we need to get our business from where it is to where it needs to be. And then their job is to be an accountability partner who helps break it down into these bite-sized day-to-day goals, where we're literally just putting one foot in front of the other each day, and we're getting everybody on our team here at Gebhardt Group to get involved. You're going to get everybody on your team within your organization to own a part of what it takes to create more value within the business. And we get to invite them to participate in the one day, the big payoff with it. So it starts with a valuation specialist. it gets expanded to value creation consultants. There might be some M&A attorneys that get involved. There might be a strategic banking relationship that needs to be involved. There's nothing more valuable to a business than having an incredible relationship with a great bank in town. And there might even be some need for some additional strategic CPA relationship too. So lots of who's. I mean, not just on the personal financial planning side, but also on the business value maximization team. There's probably 4, 5, 6 who's that can help us get the business from where it is to where it needs to be. And those are people we could help introduce you to.
I think for so many business owners, they've been going about it. They've been giving it all they've got in terms of their energy and their passion. You know, a lot of times they're building something on the fly and figuring it out on the fly. And I'm going to take a little off ramp here, and I promise to bring it back. You and I have been on a health journey, pretty significant health journey the last few years.
Sure.
And I had a heart event in April of 2022 that, God bless, it wasn't a heart attack, but it was some kind of a stress attack, panic attack. The EKG was fine. And with your help, I started working with a cardiology team to start to look at this because I am so passionate about relationship. I didn't have a who. My primary care doctor, let's just say, was out to lunch, and you helped me find a who. So went all the way through the process, had an angiogram, everything's fine. Well, there's nothing going on. I've never had this episode ever again. I take my blood pressure at home. That's been good. I haven't had any, funny heart stuff. But of course, there was blood work that went in advance of the appointment to let's see what your cholesterol is, right? And I promise there's a point to this. So that blood work came back and said my total cholesterol is 240. And it's been for a long time around 200. Well, as someone whose family has a history of heart disease in terms of cardiovascular issues, he recommended a statin, right? Pretty standard issue. My point to this is that if I don't go through the process, the fact of the matter is we had data to look at. We had data to support why he was recommending a statin. The same is going to happen for the business owner when it comes to evaluation. It's going to give you data to start to help you make better decisions. Am I going to be more mindful of things relative to my cholesterol? Yes. The same is going to apply to the business owner, right? If you have a number that comes back much lower than you expect, well, great. Okay. Be pissed off about it for a day, but that now you can do something about it. And you don't have to be the one that has to do something about it. There are plenty of who's that we can help introduce you to start to move the lever in a direction that gets you closer to that personal financial planning number and shrinking that wealth gap.
That's awesome. That's so cool. You and I think almost even sometimes take for granted that we are so ingrained on who, not how, that it's become second nature to us. It's easy. There's never anything that comes up how-wise that I ever have fear over because there's always a who that can help us with it.
I'm much better than that. I will admit to the jury that it took me a while.
Sure.
But holy smokes, once you get there, like just catch yourself. The next time you go, who, how
am I gonna?
Oh, right. Jim and Matt taught me I've got to come up with a who for that. Okay. Who? Okay. Here you can easily get stuck on, well, how am I going to find the who? Right. You've got people in your life that you know are pretty damn resourceful. And then you've got this other cool thing in your pocket called the phone that you could perplexity.
So even the who's are being expanded into the world of artificial intelligence.
100%.
Yeah. Well, brother, I think we've got the money and the business handled. But I think we got to talk.
That's all. We're good. We can wrap the show. There's nothing else.
We could, except there's that third leg of the stool that I think is the hardest leg of the stool to deal with. It's dealing with the person behind all of this, right? It's dealing
the hardest.
with.
I'm going to challenge you, partner. Is it the hardest? It's this. I think it's the scariest.
That's what I mean by being the scariest. I mean, it's the chief. I think the chief activator of fear of what's keeping a business owner or an entrepreneur stuck and not able to move forward is they're not able to answer the question of what's next for me personally. Like, okay, business is great, money's great, right? And an entrepreneur is going to intuitively know, I've created something that's incredibly valuable. Yeah, it needs some fine tuning and it needs some shushing before we could go sell it to the next wanting owner. And I feel pretty good about the financial wealth that I've created to support my life. But holy moly, what's that life look like? And the reason I think this is the scariest and the hardest part is because we have the data to back that up. The fact that 75% of business owners who go through a transaction regret it 1 year later, according to the Business Readiness Survey that the Exit Planning Institute did in 2023. 75% of the business owner respondents in their survey regretted the transaction 1 year later, and it had nothing to do with the financial side of it.
I think that data, brother, is requiring us to take a pause right now. We've covered so much today just with the first two legs of the stool, and here we are trying to digest what you and I see as kind of the missing piece that makes or breaks the business transaction, right? Because of the data we have, because of the statistic we are so well aware of, it feels like this third leg of the stool that we need to talk about deserves its own space.
Yeah, we should probably unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, so let's push pause right here. Let's digest what we've done already, the work we've already done, and then let's come back fresh in the next episode and really try to lay out what that personal planning looks like, the who's that are involved, and go really, really deep with it, because I think it deserves not only its own episode, but maybe even a series of episodes. Let's see where we go with it.
Love it.
So with that, my friend,
that's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us today on the Whole Wealth Journey. Are you ready to start planning for a future that's rich in wealth and well-being? Then click like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss a single episode of the Whole Wealth Journey.
So if we've struck a nerve with you today, where do people go?
You can find us at GebhardtWholeWealth.com. That's GEBHARDT wholewealth.com. We'll see you next time.
Jim Gebhardt is a registered representative of Integrity Alliance, LLC. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Integrity Alliance, LLC, member SIPC. Gebhardt Group Incorporated is not affiliated with Integrity Wealth. Jim Gebhardt and Matthew Grishman are investment advisor representatives of Gebhardt Group Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. The opinions in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or investment recommendations. To determine which investment or financial advice may be appropriate for you, consult a financial advisor prior to investing. Any reference to market performance is based on historical information, and there is no expressed or implied guarantee of future performance. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Integrity Alliance, LLC. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Gebhardt Group Incorporated does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.